Yo, it's that time. Get ready to unwind with Jillian on the mic. The best you'll find. Pop that cork. Let's start to chat on the Poly Wine Podcast, where it's all that. Join the crew as we dive into the scene. Current events heated, know what I mean? Jillian sitting pretty while pouring the wine. Hot topics bubbling, everything aligns. From politics to the latest in fame. Reality.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Polywine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from the media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. Well, this past Tuesday evening, President Trump gave his first State of the Union address in his second term, and he did give us the heads up beforehand, saying that it was probably going to be a lengthy speech, and true to his word, it was. It clocked in at 1 hour and 48 minutes. Yeah, it's long. That was long. I was struggling to hold on at the end, but I made it all the way through. I wanted to see it in its entirety. And all in all, I would say decent. I say dynamic speech for sure. There were moments of empathy and compassion, great uplifting stories. There were moments to honor the military and others, which were very, very nice. We got to see Team USA, the men's hockey team, fresh off their gold victory in the Olympics, come in. That was nice. 5 minutes of a standing ovation. Long. That's a bit long, but nice. It was just very long. There were some awkward moments, for sure. That moment between Senator Mark Kelly and the president where they were staring off, that was a bit uncomfortable. There were some tense moments between members of Congress and the president. There was a little bit of some weirdness between the justices of the Supreme Court that were right there front and center. And Trump reiterated that he was not pleased with many of those on the Supreme Court following their Friday, verdict that they felt that some of the tariffs and the justifications for the tariffs were unconstitutional. So everybody knows how pissed Trump was about that. And he reminded the Supreme Court that he was not happy, and everybody that he was not happy about those decisions. I like some of the plans moving forward, that he wants to meet some of the retirement benefits and for investments. That'd be great. I was happy that he wants to push through the bill preventing insider trading. Fantastic. And that he wants to make some changes with insurance and drug prescription and all of those things. Those things all sound wonderful. Great. Like, as you always say, Trump, great. So if you can make it happen, I am all on board. But right now, it's talk. Let's get these plans in action, and let's see if we can actually make it happen and follow through. I like that. There's a plan moving forward. You're giving me some plans. Hopefully it's just not words, but we can move forward. But I got to tell you, when Trump was up there speaking about some of the things that he would like to implement moving forward and some of the actions that they want to have down the road in part of this term of his presidency, his legacy, right? Because it's not going to be tariffs. Is it me reading into it, or did you have like the Speaker Johnson and JD Vance behind him? JD Vance, poker face, but it looked to me like Johnson's like, does like shocked, like, does anybody know what he's talking about? That look he had on his face, just like, what is he talking about? Like, he was just finding out, just as you and I were as the viewers. So that was kind of interesting to watch his facial expression. It was really fun to read that. Like, he just looked like he was out of it. Like him looking around the room, like, you know what he's talking about. Everybody did. Yay. That's what I was kind of watching that. But all in all, fine. I did want to have some fact checking on there. I wish we could have like a, like on the news, we have like the chyrons and the tickers on the bottom. Can we have that for like fact checking so we can debunk some of the things that are saying to see if it's actually true or not? That would be nice, because there were some statements that were said throughout the speech that I was just like, can we fact check that? I question the truth and accuracy of that. All in all, long but decent State of the Union. And then following the State of the Union, you had the Democratic rebuttal. Governor Abigail Stanbury of Virginia gave that, which is a tough act to follow the State of the Union. I mean, you have the president speaking in front of the entire Congress on the Hill when he's coming out. Everybody's cheering and clapping. By the way, that whole scene when President Trump was walking in to the House, grown men were like throwing themselves on him. It was weird. Very, very weird. But with the rebuttal from Abigail Stanbury, the governor of Virginia, like I said, that's a tough follow. That is a tough follow. You have that whole grandeur of speaking on the Hill, and then you have the rebuttal of, which I got to give her credit, she did it in front of a crowd, which is nice, because sometimes when you have the rebuttal following the State of the Union, it's one person in a room or just a couple, and it's just seems very quiet and sad. But she did have a room full of people, so that was nice. It gave it some energy. But her big point is the president working for you? His tariffs, his policies, those type of things. So that's kind of what it followed. But all in all, I think the critics gave it 2 thumbs up from what I understand. So good job, well done. But it was really interesting to see, out of all that, out of all the accolades that were handed out, out of all the praises, and thank goodness that you praised the military. They really need a boost of good spirits. They must be spread thin. They're all over the place. So thank you for really acknowledging and giving honor to the men and women of the military. They need it. But it was just very long, and it just kind of gave me a feel, the State of the Union, of a little bit of a mix between game show and award ceremony. Like, you get an award and you get an award, and okay, it's nice. And like I said, I am so thankful that he praised the military. They deserve it. But I'm so used, and I guess more to tradition, when you have such a high honor given to someone in the military, that it's more of a private ceremony. Like when you see the Medal of Freedom or the Medal of Honor Award, it's more of a private ceremony. And I think I like that tradition. It'd be nice to recognize those in front of the whole nation and the House. Very nice, but it just takes so long. And not to dismiss such an honor, but it was a very long speech, and I think when you have so many interruptions and breaks and 5-minute applause like they had for when Team USA came out, and USA, it just, when you have something that long, and people tend to lose interest, and I think sometimes you kind of miss the message. So, but all in all, again, he received high remarks from it, so well done. But I will say, out of all the people that were recognized in the floor, there were survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, and this has been a big issue. Not once did President Trump mention the Epstein files or recognize or say anything to any of the Epstein victims. So really unfortunate, definitely a moment missed for sure. Look, you signed this bill into action to release the Epstein files. You have said to everybody on the news, and I can recall you standing on an Air Force One, I've been exonerated. There's nothing about me in the files. That's great. You've declared your innocence. Fine. So why would you not take a moment and be like, I was the one that signed this into action, signed it into law to release these files with transparency. I want to extend my sympathies out to you victims. I want to make sure that you get the justice that you deserve. He should have said something. So to miss that, I think, it was really a missed opportunity. Not good, because we all knew that some of these victims were going to be in the audience, and the Epstein drama, the Epstein files and the fallout and the mishandling, it is not going away. Fallout is happening, especially over in Europe. We've talked about what's going down in the UK and other European countries, and they're taking action. People are resigning. People are being dismissed from their duties and jobs. And thankfully, unfortunately, nobody has been taken down directly for the victims. You know, there's not a direct link. It's for other things, and that's fine. Follow the money. If that's how we have to slowly get some of these perpetrators, if this is what we have to do, and everybody involved, like the lawyers and the victims, they say, follow the money, follow the money. And this is the first step in getting some of these people that were in this universe of Jeffrey Epstein's that helped prop this man up and keep this network going for so long, because it was a long time. But it really was a missed opportunity. And we do know that last week, Andrew Melton Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, was arrested. Now, again, not related to any crimes to victims, but for misconduct of while in a public office. And we all saw that picture of him in the car, in the back seat, looking like a freaked out animal, being taken away, leaving the jail. That is quite a photo. And to the group who went to the Louvre last week and mounted that photo of Andrew in the back seat of the car once he was released for jail, that like frightened animal picture, they blew that picture up, framed it, and stuck it on the wall at the Louvre in Paris with, of course, you know how every painting has a little card description at the bottom, and it says, now he's sweating, because remember in the interview that he did years ago following all the stuff that came out with Virginia Dufresne, who accused Andrew, he was like, I don't sweat, because she said he was sweaty. She has memories of him being very sweaty and gross and clammy. And he's like, I don't sweat. Well, that's what they put at the bottom of that picture at the Louvre. Now he's sweating, which is also on the cover of one of the tabloids in the UK when he was arrested. Now he's sweating. To the group that claim responsibility of putting that picture on the wall at the Louvre, first of all, job well done, a tip of the hat and a curtsy. That is how you do peaceful protest. The group that claimed responsibility for that one was called Everybody Hates Elon, which is a great name. And so, I mean, job well done. Petty, quiet, subtle, but very, very powerful. Great. Funny. I laughed my ass off when I heard that story, that first of all, how do you sneak in a framed photo that size and just stick it on the wall at the Louvre? Well, if there's anything that we have found out recently, is that the Louvre does not have the strongest security, right? So maybe it wasn't that hard, but God, that was a good one. Checkmate, if I can say so. And that move right there was up there with that, this past summer. Remember when President Trump visited King Charles, and he was given quite the ceremony as he was welcomed there. And a group, which I think the group was called like Led by Donkeys. I think that's who it is. I'm not 100%, but I think that's who it was at the time. Casted these images, they projected these images of Jeffrey Epstein and Trump all over the towers while Trump was there outside having this ceremony. I mean, well done. So well done to that one in this past summer at the castle with those images, and well done to Everyone Hates Elon for this move. Well done. Funny, great picture. But so do you see how they're handling over in Europe and how it is being mishandled here in the States? So I hope that the ripple effects works its way across the pond here into the States, and some accountability and action starts to happen. Hillary Clinton is actually answering questions in front of the House Oversight Committee and members of Congress today. President Clinton is actually going to be answering questions tomorrow. The Oversight Committee is subpoenaing many more now that some names are coming out in the Epstein files. But it's happening. The ball is rolling. How many more names are going to come out? We all heard about Bill Gates coming out and speaking to his charity coming clean that, yes, he did have 2 affairs with 2 Russian ladies at separate times. Because that came out in some of the Epstein files as well. You know, we all have read about the emails, and evidently Jeffrey Epstein liked to write emails to himself. So this man has, Jeffrey Epstein, by the way, the information and blackmail that is out there. I can't imagine how much information is out there that law enforcement doesn't have. I mean, we've already heard that right before he passed, that he had private investigators move some of his computers and drives and things like that to storage locations. So how much is out there that Jeffrey Epstein hid and hasn't been found that could have highly sensitive information on there and a lot of blackmail? So we're going to find out, and hopefully sooner than later. But wow, every day when we turn on the news, there's a little bit more that's coming out with this Epstein files. And I just want to say again, when Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she basically got called to the principal's office when Trump called her when she was really trying to push forward with the Jeffrey Epstein files and get some justice for the victims, that Trump told her that he didn't want it to come out because a lot of his friends were going to get hurt. And it seems like every day some new names are coming out, and they do seem to be a little close in his sphere. But of course, Trump has denied any allegation. He says he's been cleared, and all information at this time relating to anything in the Jeffrey Epstein. No, but it does seem like every day we're getting a little bit more breadcrumbs that are coming out of these Epstein files. And when are these breadcrumbs going to lead directly to the path of the people that were co-conspirators with Jeffrey Epstein? It's interesting to see every day. And who are the names and where was the money coming from? But man, oh man. And let's work our way over to another topic, and that's the Olympics in Milan. This past weekend, we had the closing ceremonies, and lovely closing ceremonies. Still, again, too many advertisements that interrupted this ceremony, but it was a very lovely ceremony, and congratulations to all the athletes. I mean, there were some highs, there were lows, there were some intense moments. Congratulations to the U.S. women's hockey team and the U.S. men's hockey team, pulling it out to the final moment and winning gold. So congratulations to the men and women. Congratulations to all the athletes. And closing out in the medal count, that is to the top 4 countries. Norway ending out on top. Congratulations, Norway. You crushed it this Olympics. Team USA, number 2. To the Netherlands, number 3. And to the home team of Italy, rounding out the top 4. Netherlands, wow, your speed skaters were unbelievable. But I know that is your sport, and wow, you really stepped up this Olympics. Italy, you were a wonderful host to the world. And I heard the food for the athletes off the charts, but you were a wonderful host. And, you know, for the most part, I think everything went really well with the Olympics. We did have some serious crashes off the slopes, off the pikes, some really high moments to end those 2 weeks. And don't forget to watch the Paralympics coming up in the next few weeks. That's always a great one. And as we're talking about the athletes, it was so nice to see some of the highlights coming out of the Olympics on social media. But we have to kind of talk about the video of Kash Patel that came out in the news and online with him partying with Team USA right after their victory. I understand that you are caught in the moment. You are in the excitement. They just won after this epic victory. And yes, you want to celebrate. I get it. But when you have such a high position like that, and I just don't think that video comes off well. If I were Kash Patel and I had anybody in the room with a camera, I'd been like, get a picture of me with a medal, the team, all that. But any of this other part and stuff is off the record. Okay, sign this NDA right here. That's what should have happened, because it just, I don't know, optics just didn't come off well, and it looked a little desperate and kind of pathetic. Kash Patel, you already said you were working abroad. You stopped at the Olympics because you were invited. And what a moment to spend with Team USA. Yes, I get it. Don't be so focused on looking cool. Be more focused on your job and keeping America safe. And we're still trying to find Savannah Guthrie's mom, okay? What's happening there? You haven't found her yet, so let's focus elsewhere. Kash Patel, you are a busy man, and there's a lot. Speaking of Savannah Guthrie's mom, Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, is still missing 4 weeks into the disappearance, and it doesn't sound like the family or investigators have much to go on. Savannah Guthrie did release another video. Savannah Guthrie did release another video this past week, offering a reward for any information about her mom or any way that they can reunite. Okay. Savannah Guthrie did release a new video this week, offering a reward up to $1 million for any information that could help reunite the family with their mother. But it's terrible. It seems like they have no information. And unfortunately, now that it's been 4 weeks into this disappearance, they've had so many teams and resources from local and federal authorities to help in this search. Now that it's been about a month into it, and at some point they have to start scaling it back so they can provide resources to other areas and departments. It's understandable, but it's just so sad. But we still have nothing to go on. And in this most recent video that Savannah Guthrie gave, the tone has just changed. She's kind of giving in to the fact that there may not be a reunion with her mother alive, and she's starting to kind of come to maybe a very different ending, that the mother may no longer be with us. And it's just heartbreaking to hear the story, but to know nothing, have nothing, and 4 weeks later, it's just so sad and just very. But with such a very sad story right outside of Tucson with Savannah Guthrie's mom that's missing, there was one story that came out several days ago out of Arizona that started off with an Amber Alert, but turned into a happy ending. So right outside Phoenix, Arizona, there was an Amber Alert that went out for this abducted two-year-old girl. Well, there was a moving crew in a moving van that pulled into a convenience store to, get their morning coffee and donuts. And there was a lady in this convenience store with this small child that one of the members of the moving crew was like, I think that's the girl on the Amber Alert. And the man looked it up, and he's discussing it with other people in the crew and is moving in this car with the moving crew. And they get this security guard that's with the convenience store. Like, I think this is the girl in the Amber Alert. I think this is the girl. So they start working together, and you see this woman exiting the convenience store with this little girl and start to go into this car. Well, the men in the moving truck take their moving truck and block in this car where the person can't move. And they call law enforcement to come out. And sure enough, it was the girl on the Amber Alert. This moving crew in this truck saved that little girl's life. It's an amazing story. But there's a video that came out in the news and online where there's a camera inside this truck, in this moving truck, which is standard in most corporate trucks, right? And you see this guy, he's like, I think this is their little girl. And you see the other members of this moving crew talking about it, like, I think it's her, and they're discussing it. And there's this image of, you see this one guy who I'm guessing is the manager. He's got the name tag shirt on, and he's like peeling back this wrapper of this donut and does not skip a beat of making his donut. He's like, I think that's her. And evidently this crew had been trained to kind of be observant for like sex trafficking and things like that and signs like that. So they had been trained to kind of be alert, hyper observant in situations like that. And thank goodness they've had the training. They acted on it and they saved this girl's life. What a wonderful story. So we go from one sad story from Nancy Guthrie to another story with a positive ending, and the little girl was reunited with her family. So see, heroes are everyday people everywhere. It's a great thing. And I hope that convenience store gives that moving crew an endless supply of coffee and donuts. That is well-deserved. Oh, and on this podcast, we always kind of like to end the show talking about our Bravo universe. And when we talk about Bravo, it's always the drama and the scandals and the ridiculousness and how over the top and absurd it can be in the fighting and all that. And it is. And that's the draw of it. That pulls us in and keeps me coming back for more. It does. And I'm just going to add that tonight is The Traitors finale and reunion, and talk about drama. We have all heard about the drama that has leaked out of what happened at the filming of the reunion of season 4 of The Traitors. So I am going to be watching it. So there's that. There's the craziness of Bravo. And on these reality shows, we see the human element of a lot of our favorite Bravo celebrities that deal with situations that affect everyone, all families. And sometimes that may be kids in crisis, divorce, addiction, mental health issues, financial issues, legal stuff. We see it all. Sometimes some of our Bravo celebrities are quite open about what they deal with it. Some of them keep it close to the vest, understandably so. But one of our favorite Bravo celebrities has been very open about her family crisis and what they're going through right now. And that is Mary Cosby on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. She and her son, Robert Jr., have been very transparent about his drug addiction. He's talked very openly about his thoughts of suicidal ideation. He's been very open about it. And I got to tell you, that first mother-son conversation / intervention, if you will, with Mary and her son, when he opened up about his drug addiction and his thoughts of suicide and everything else, it was painful. It was gut-wrenching, emotional. It was compelling television. But every person, parent, sibling who's ever had to deal with something like that could relate to that moment. The pain that she and her son were putting out there for the whole world to see was so raw and real. And we've seen some other moments, and Mary's talked about it. And, you know, like this season, she talked about when she reopened her church after being closed for renovations. She wanted to bring her son there on her opening day, and he was high and she couldn't. You know, she has been clear about his struggles. He's been in and out of jail. And she even said on the reunion when she broke down talking about it, he was in jail at that time, that at least she was happy he was in jail because he was not getting in more trouble and she felt that he was okay. But day by day, right? Day by day, he was in a very dark place. And we just found out that this past Monday that Mary Cosby's son, Robert Jr., lost his life. He passed away. And Mary, I am so, so sorry. There's been so much tension on your cast with Salt Lake City these last several seasons. And I know it's a house divided for sure. But I hope that all that feelings and tension can be set aside and they can all come together for you so you can help get through this very difficult moment. You need a support group. You need your friends. This is her only son, Mary Cosby, and to see her pain when she was like, when he's told her in the past, her son, that he had these dark thoughts, and she's like, you can't do that, it would crush me. They keep playing that loop from last year over and over again, and it's just heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking, but there's not been a release of the cause of death, but what I have read online and what I've heard is that that the paramedics were called due to a possible overdose, and I have read that there's been Narcan was administered, so it does lead in down that direction. So it's just sad. Mary Cosby, I am so sorry. I hope your Bravo family is there for you. Andy Cohen, I'm sure, is there. He must be just devastated because they were just talking about it. And Andy's a dad now, too. And it's just a parent's worst night. I can't remember an active cast member of a show losing a child while they were filming. And I hope that one day when you move through this pain, turn your pain into a passion and help others. What a sad way to end. But Mary, we are all thinking of you. But it's called reality TV because there is an element of realness to it. This story this week with Mary Cosby definitely hit home with that. So there you go. But that is it for us today. Thank you so much for joining the show. Please follow Polywine on Instagram at PolyWineTime. Please listen to Polywine wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Bye.